The information provided in this show is for informational and educational purposes only. This show is not investment advice, nor is it intended to address the financial needs of any particular viewer. The opinions expressed on this show are not intended to be an endorsement of any particular investment, strategy of service, or any other kind. You must make an independent decision regarding investments or strategies mentioned throughout the show. Before acting on information in the show, you should consider whether it is suitable for your particular situation and strongly consider seeking advice from a financial advisor. Welcome to Ways to Love Your Money. I'm Elisabeth Dawson, and I'm so glad that you're here today. So glad you're listening to the show, and I'm hoping that you hear something that is different than the rest. Different in the sense that you understand something that you didn't know to be true before. So ultimately, we have a couple of great guests on the show today. We have Brian Gengler. He's the president of First Income Advisors, a great friend of mine. And we also have Craig Gussin, and he is also the president and owner of Gussin and Auerbach, which is a health insurance company that we have done business with for many, many years. So the importance of having great relationships out there and talking about, money in a media light, it's a good thing. It's a positive thing. We want to talk about things that really change people's worlds, but most people are so afraid to talk about money and their money concerns. They work so hard every single day to make money, to have a lifestyle, but they're not really thinking about the present so much that they have to be aware of what does an emergency fund look like? How much money should I have in it? What does income look like for me for my retirement purposes? And truly, we talk about the four cornerstones of what creates a great financial plan for retirement. And it's truly about income. It's not just one part, it's all of it. So it's income, 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 income. You want to focus on having enough income that's guaranteed over the rest of your life. How do you do that? Possibly with our interview with Brian Gengler that will help you a little bit today. Again, we want to make sure that you're starting to hear things that you haven't heard before. One of the points I'd like to make about Craig Gussin is that he is truly a health insurance professional. He may do other things, but boy, does this gentleman know his information when it comes to Sacramento, to Washington, D.C., to educating people and really looking out for what's in the best interest of individuals when they're looking for health insurance. We're in an environment where we're in open enrollment. So if you don't have health insurance and you don't get signed up for it by the end of this year, you're not going to have health insurance. And you've got to really think about what does it mean to self-insure. We know it's not a mandatory thing anymore that you have to have health insurance, but if you're an individual out there and you do not have it from your employer, you want to figure that out. In addition, we always talk about Medicare too, in a sense, with our clients, because now this is kind of their final piece when they get into retirement about what does their retirement insurance look like, and how do they make sure that, Part A, Part B, what is Part C? What do all these different supplements mean? And truly, if you have questions about those things, we really want to refer you back to giving us a call or questions with an S at ElisabethDawson.com. And you're welcome to give us a call, and we will help you out with the information that you're hearing today. Our phone number is 619-640-2622. And I know that if you haven't heard before, but this show, Ways to Love Your Money, is really a take on Wealth by Design, the book that we have written and we have put out, and it's available out there. Now, where I always recommend that you go is to our website, ElisabethDawson.com, because that will create a link there for you to see all of our media, our podcasts, everything like that, and where you can go directly on the link on the website to connect to Amazon, and they will ship you a book as quickly as you want. We've even had friends and colleagues and other professionals that have bought 50, 60, 100 books, which we're grateful for that because it creates more popularity. But not only are we doing this podcast that we're so glad that you're listening to, we also have a radio show on AM 1170, The Answer, also 96.1 FM here in San Diego. So the passion is truly to educate people. Why is it so important to talk about these different pieces? It's because no one's talking about them. It's what matters most to people. Again, when we talk to Brian today, we're going to talk a little bit about guaranteeing that income for the rest of your life. What does that mean? What does that look like? what tools can you use? And it might not even be a tool we're going to talk about on the show, but it's a tool that you need to basically make sure that you have that great income, that paycheck that comes in every single month or every single week, whatever it might be that you want to design. But it is about designing the life that you want to have in retirement. To kind of finalize this with our mission is truly to help as many people as we possibly can achieve the greatness that they deserve to have. And do this where it is so complicated, but our job, again, as full comprehensive financial advisors, we want to make sure that the consumer that we're so blessed and privileged to work with, that they really have a scope of all this information, even though it may be overwhelming, but a simple approach to accomplish all your goals, your dreams in retirement so that you can live the life that you want to live. It's not just about a rate of return that you get in the stock market. It's truly about every piece that you make a financial decision on so it makes sense for you and for your future. So I'm hoping that you're going to stay tuned. Please do. We have some great interviews today, as well as, again, take advantage of your complimentary consultation, especially after you hear what you have to hear today, and give us a call to make up that appointment. Again, 619-640-2622. We can't wait to hear from you, and we'll be right back shortly. Welcome back to Ways to Love Your Money. This is Elisabeth Dawson, and I'm so glad that you've joined us today. I have a wonderful guest that I can't wait to introduce you to. This gentleman, his name is Brian Gengler. He's the president of First Income Advisors, and I can't wait for you to meet him and for him to tell us a little bit about his story, as well as some things that he has for just room to talk about in your world and things to think about for retirement. So with that said, thank you so much, Brian, for joining us today. We're so glad you could join us all the way from, go ahead.
Cold Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Perfect. Well, Brian, you're such a dear person to me, and I want to share you with the rest of the world here. But most importantly, I'd love to know a little bit about your background and a little bit about your story and why you're so passionate about what you do.
Well, first off, Elisabeth, thanks for having me on your show today, Ways to Love Your Money. I can't think of a better topic. I've actually been in the financial services arena for 25 years now. I started in 1993, and I spent the majority of my time as an executive with a couple of large insurance companies, Allianz Life of North America and Aviva. And for both those companies, I worked on creating retirement products. I worked with some great people like Ken Dykewald of the Age Wave. And I really focused my time, energy, and efforts on helping mentor and train advisors around the country to help people prepare for retirement. 2012, I actually broke away and I started my own firm, First Income Advisors. And we train about 1,800 agents across the country. And we provide them a platform, and we really focus on retiring the baby boomer generation. And we'll retire somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 people each and every year.
Well, I know you've talked to me a little bit about a retirement crisis. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's something that, we've got this large amount of baby boomers, 76 million baby boomers marching towards retirement. 10,000 each and every day hit retirement age. And they're faced with the true crisis. The biggest thing that I see are what I call the income gap or the income cliff. And what I mean by that is an income gap is on retirement, I might want 70, 80, 90, $100,000 of retirement income. When I take a look at my income streams, I only have 40 or 50. And there's a gap there between what I want or what I need and what I actually have. The second big thing we see is what I call the income cliff. And that to me is more vital. Typically, we find upon the death of the primary breadwinner, retirement income goes down somewhere between 45 and 65%. So if you take a look at the income gap and the income cliff, there are two big challenges that face the baby boomer generation.
Can you re-elaborate again on that real drop for a surviving spouse? What it really means to, well, I mean, it's a big problem out there today. We see this a lot, even in our practice, where the surviving spouse might have a 40, 50, even 60% drop, and they can do something about it if they plan ahead, but if they don't plan ahead, they kind of have the outcome not the way they actually had planned for.
Well, it's like you say in Wealth by Design, the most important thing you can do is take action. And when you look at that crisis in retirement, to me, Elizabeth, there's three main points to it facing the baby boomer generation. And the first would be longevity. You look back, if I was a male born in 1900, the average life expectancy in 1900 was only 45 years old. By 1935, that had increased to about 59. And today, life expectancy is somewhere around 78. So you think about going from 45 to 78, that's a 73% increase in the last 100 years. You think about if there's a 73% increase over the next 100 years, life expectancy of 134, 135, which I've got kids at home, and that scares me because I'll be lucky to get them out of the house by 55 or 60. But you go back to 1935, life expectancy is 59. That's when Social Security started. So Social Security, a program designed to provide benefits at age 65, when the average life expectancy is only 59. And today, average life expectancy is 78, and Social Security benefits are kicking in at 65. So today's retiree is going to spend a third of their life in retirement. And there was a great study done. I know we were talking about this, that on average, retirees spend 1 to 3 hours per day thinking about or worrying about their retirement.
Well, it's interesting. I was just talking to my father earlier today, and he said he was up late last night worrying about his retirement and his income, and he has a pension. He's one of those lucky few that has a pension, and he has benefits coming in every month, and he still worries. So sometimes you can't necessarily close that, that fear and anxiety of running out of money. But I know we've talked about that too, about the percentage of people that actually do fear the running out of money, and really in times of their life where they can't really necessarily go back to work to try and create more money for themselves.
That's exactly it. So the first leg is the longevity. We're going to live longer than we ever imagined. But the second thing is exactly what you talked about. It's how do I generate income in retirement? The old way of retiring was I worked at one job, I worked there for 40 years, I hit age 65, and we threw a big party for me. And a lot of times I got a gold watch. Sometimes it was real. A lot of times it was fake. But every month after retirement, I got what your father got, and that's a pension. Every month I got that check. And as a retiree, the old way, my retirement income was pension, Social Security, and my savings. So 2/3 of my retirement income was funded either by my employer or by the government. And you think about now, new way of retirement. People might work 10, 12 jobs, sometimes 5 different careers, but there's no more pensions. And the entire responsibility for retirement, the entire onus is upon me. My retirement income is my savings, it's Social Security. It's the thing called my 401k, which the average balance in a 401k of a retiree is about 176,000. But generating income in retirement over the last 30 years has completely been shifted from the employer, and now the entire responsibility is on the employee. So how do I fund my retirement is second to longevity.
Well, we've talked about this a lot, you and and I know you have some solutions that you suggest for people to consider. And for all those listeners listening in right now, what would you suggest as part of their planning process to guarantee income when they get to retirement? We've talked about it. Income, 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 income is the four cornerstones of basically a successful retirement. So how do we make sure that the people that are listening have some solutions or places that they can go to?
Well, that's the third change that's happened. Is the old way interest rates were 5, 6, 7, maybe 8%, and I could put my money into a CD and I could live on the interest. Today, most CDs are paying less than 2%. The old way, I could put money into an investment account and I could pull dividends or a bond portfolio. I could pull returns of 5%, and I could live off that each and every year. But Stanford Research Institute, Fine Institute, just did a study, and they said if you want your money to last at least 30 years, they ran a scenario, and what they found was if I pull out 5% of my investment portfolio, I have a 65% chance of running out of money in the next 30 years.
Wow.
You heard me correct,
I've
65%.
That is amazing because that is the biggest concern out there is running out of money. It's the anxiety of not having enough. And number one is the anxiety of running out of money. So if you're taking too high of a distribution amount, you're going to run out of money and you have a 65% chance of failure.
Yeah, well, and you could take that down to 4%. And Elizabeth, you still have a 47% chance of running out of money. You have to take it all the way down to 2.8%. 2.8%. If I had $1 million, I could take $28,000 a year and I'd have less than a 10% chance of running out of money.
I know we've had kind of a little joke about things like this. It's basically if you have $1 million in the bank, you think you're doing pretty well, right? But if you're at a 2% interest rate and you're making $20,000 or $24,000 a year, or even like what you just said, $28,000 per year, are you a millionaire or are you a 20 or 24 or $28,000 heir? And that is the concern because we have to be mindful of a low interest rate environment. So if there's anything else that you'd love to share with the people that are listening today, that are watching this, and you feel that this would be a great time to create an impact for them, a call to action, we'd love to know what your thoughts are.
Well, I think it is all about a solution, right? How do you solve this retirement crisis? And you have to ask yourself a couple of questions. Number one, do you want consistent income? Are you okay with that income, 70, 80,000 a year? Would you be okay at age 78 if it went down to 35? The second thing that you need to ask yourself is, how about when something happens to me as the primary breadwinner? Do I want my spouse to stay at $70,000 a year? But the third thing, and I think this is probably the most important thing that everybody needs to ask themselves, at this stage of your life, as you create that pension concept, Elizabeth, do I want a sure thing or a maybe? Because there's great products out there they're brand new to our space, products that you give a company some money, they give you a pension income. If you die, your wife gets that same pension income, and if you both die before the money's gone, your kids get whatever's left over.
Right, and that's where we talk about that as a private pension, and that is so powerful. I know that listeners are probably thinking of this for the first time. What's a private pension? But if you can actually protect your money and create a private pension with that money and guarantee that income for the rest of your life, your spouse's life, and then also whatever is left to pass down to your children, your beneficial heirs, it's powerful. It's very powerful because people just don't want to give up that money. They don't want to give up the liquidity, use, and control. But today, retirement has truly become a bigger part of the efforts on the consumer to be able to plan for their retirement and do it well. And if they don't do it well, they'll be facing things like lines at Walmart or lines at the grocery store or something like this. And you see it when we have economic crisis. And we've been having a really strong economy these last few years, which is great. But not everything can last forever, which we wish it would, but it doesn't do that. So, Brian, I'm so grateful that you've taken the time to, talk with our listeners, talk with, with me, and really just share your point of view. And I think it's so powerful for people to really start to take a moment to listen, to be proactive versus reactive, and not wait for something unchangeable or basically something that can't be fixed in the future. And again, I love your statement. Do you want a sure thing or a maybe? And I know I've borrowed that a little bit from you over time that we've known each other, but we're grateful for that too. And truly, listeners, I think it is about having something that's a sure thing versus a maybe, and knowing really where your boundaries are and what to expect. Because no one wants to, retire with less money. The spending of money is so powerful when you're not only living and working for money, but when your money is hard at work for you. You need to come up with solutions and strategies to make sure that the tools are a right fit for you when you get to that retirement planning. And, you shouldn't wait 2 months before your retirement, date comes up to have your retirement party, but you should start thinking about this, even 10 years from then, 5 years from then, every year there forward, and making sure you have a really great plan put together to make sure that your income will actually be larger or just as close to what you're making now today, with cost of living adjustments and everything else. So there are tools that can actually help you accomplish those things. Again, Brian, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you being here with us live. And again, in the future, call to action. Start getting an analysis about your future. Start seeing what your retirement's going to look like, because you might not have a pension. I just read an article today that it says less than 13% of the population has a pension today. It's getting smaller, it's dwindling, and we can't just depend on Social Security. So your call to action today is, if you have some questions about what you just heard, email them at questions@elizabeth.dawson.com, or you're welcome to give us a call at 619-640-2622, and you can have your complimentary consultation to basically get started and get ready and try and figure out what your retirement picture looks like. Thank you so much. We'll be right back with Ways to Love Your Money. Welcome back to Ways to Love Your Money. This is Elisabeth Dawson, and I'm so glad that you're here. We have another wonderful, wonderful guest that he's a gentleman that I've known for a very long time, but we shouldn't put too much time on that so we don't age ourselves. But this is Craig Gussin. I'm going to let you hear from him about what his business is and some of the concerns and also calls to action that he has when he's facing people in the consumer out there. So thank you so much, Craig, for coming and tell us a little bit about your company and you and your story.
It's good to see you, Elizabeth.
It's so good to see you, too.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. So, my firm helps individuals with their health insurance, life, disability insurance, long-term care insurance. So anything in the insurance arena for themselves. We try and help them and educate them about what will work for them, what won't work for them, what's best for their particular situation and what they need, because everybody's needs are different. If you're single, it's different than if you're married with a family, or if maybe you're getting close to retirement and you're thinking about Medicare and how it works and what's best for me and what does this Medicare for all mean and all that. So a lot of what I do is the education process. Because I think a lot like you do and most people do in our position is we try and educate the consumer to make a good, intelligent decision on what's best for them and their family.
Well, I know that what we talk about a lot between the two of us over the years has really been about health insurance and Medicare and what's the right options to choose. And we're kind of going into that open enrollment season right now for Medicare. So I know that this is a really hot topic for several people out there. And especially, we were just had another interview with another gentleman, and basically his comment was that between 10 to 11,000 of baby boomers are retiring each and every day. So I can only imagine the magnitude of people that you're talking to about Medicare, the supplements, what's the A, what's the B, what's the C, what are all these other supplements that you have to do, and it's kind of a scary decision for a lot of people.
It is. Actually, in California, 1,000 people a day turn age 65. If you think about that, it's just an unbelievable number. And I think it's 10,000 across the country.
Yes.
So, what you need to look at, and what I always talk to people about is, think about in 2019, what are you going to need? Do you have any new prescriptions? Any prescriptions that you really think you're going to have? Are you going to have any kind of medical procedure done? You're going to have a baby. You're going to have a surgery. Maybe a lot of my clients are saying, I may have to have hip surgery next year. It's just really bothering me, and it's something I have to think about. You want to make sure that your plan's designed, because again, if you're paying it through your business, what you pay per month in premiums is pre-tax dollars. What you paid at a doctor in the hospitals or after tax. If you're self-employed, or if you have your own plan on your own, then maybe you don't get to deduct it. There are ways to do it, and it's one of the things we educate people about how to. But the big thing is to look at what's going on. Who are your doctors? What network are they in? In San Diego, we have 3 major networks: Scripps, Sharp, and Kaiser. If your doctor's in that network, maybe you design a plan that only allows you to see that network of doctors. By doing that, you can lower your cost and get really good benefits. So a lot of it with us is just the education of what is it that you want to accomplish for your family over the next 12 months. Because open enrollment's here. It started on the 1st. It's in California. If you want a 1/1 effective date, it goes into, you have to buy it by 12/15. If you don't, you have till January 15th to get a 2/1 effective date. After that, in California, you can't buy health insurance the rest of the year.
Wow.
We're different from most states. Sacramento decided a couple months ago that they're not going to allow short-term health insurance.
Okay.
It was interesting because it was fine under President Obama for 7.5 years, and under President Bush before them, and under President Clinton before them. But now they're not going to allow it. And because of that, if you don't buy health insurance by January 15th, you cannot buy health insurance unless you have what we call a qualifying event. You get married, you have a baby, you lose your job, you lose your insurance with it. That's an event that you can get insurance as long as you sign up.
So there's a big risk of not being able to be covered at all if you're not within that period of time. So I'm so glad we're talking about this right now.
A big risk, because it used to be in the old days, call me up and we'd find something for you. Now it's illegal in California. So I don't have a lot of options. And right now, there's 10,000 people who have a short-term health insurance plan. So we're not going to have it in California. Other states will have it.
Okay.
So each
Can they
state.
cross borders? I know they were talking about being able to do that. Can they
Yeah.
cross borders to another state to get that health insurance?
I actually had that question, like, what happened if I hang out with my client, we go to Vegas for a couple of days, and the company said, no, we look at where you domicile, where you live.
Okay.
So you can't do that. People say, well, how about insurance across state lines? And I go, we have that now. Blue Cross is an Indiana company. Some of these companies come out of state. You can do that as long as your plan meets the requirements in California. And see, that's the
Okay.
whole key.
Okay.
If you're a Kentucky insurance company, you want to come to California, you can do that. But you're going to have
You
to
still have to
provide
conform to California.
and the medical, because we have more mental health and other benefits that are required in California that other states don't have.
Well, and I know with the tax, Reform
Mm-hmm.
Act that occurred, that they basically took away the mandatory that you have to own health insurance. But if you still want health insurance, you've got to go in within that time period to be able to get it done for January. If
Right.
not, your latest one is January 15th, so you can get it by the 1st
Right.
of February.
So people are saying to me, well, there's no penalty. I don't need to get health insurance. I go,
Yes.
well, that's true. But if you have a medical procedure, you have to pay for it. So if you don't have health insurance, how are you going to pay for it? People always complain to me because health insurance is expensive.
Yes.
And I always say health insurance is expensive because health care is expensive. And the education I try and give people is that, best example, prescriptions. I didn't realize until about a month ago, it's illegal for a pharmacist to tell you that if you pay cash with a prescription, it's cheaper than using your insurance.
Wow.
So Congress passed a law, it's going into effect January 1st, that says now a pharmacist can tell you that if you pay cash for a prescription, it's cheaper.
Really?
Sacramento went one step further and said if you do pay cash, it will go towards your max out of pocket, which
Oh.
it didn't before.
Okay.
But I tell all my clients, I never use my health insurance card when I'm buying a prescription if it's generic. If it's brand name, give them your card. If
Okay.
it's generic, I walk in, I go, Elizabeth, I'm paying cash. And they're going
Right.
to say it's $4 to $8 for a 30-day supply. If they say to me it's $45, I just say, here's my health insurance card. But 99 out of 100 times, the cash price is so much cheaper. And then you look at certain places to get it, such as Costco. They give you a 100-day supply instead of 90.
Okay.
Walmart has, you can go to those websites of those two, and it's either based on your prescription name or your condition, and it will show you exactly the cash price.
Well, I don't think even people know this is an option, so I think it's great that
Right.
you're bringing it up right now. So they can basically almost choose to self-insure their prescriptions. And then in another breath, they have to also consider if they want to self-insure and not have health insurance. So I know that you run across people all the time, and this is something you're very committed to, and that education, you're so committed to that as well. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing in Sacramento and Washington, D.C.
Usually in February or March, I'm in Washington, D.C., meeting with our local congressmen and women,
Okay.
talking to them about what's going on in San Diego County, explain how it's affecting their constituents and the consumers, and some of the things that they're talking about, such as a single payer plan, one plan for everybody in America. It sounds great. Everything's paid for at 100%. But one of the things we explain to them, and we do this more in Sacramento than Washington, D.C., is that the plan that you want to put together that would do that will cost every consumer in California approximately $1,000 a month.
Okay.
So a family of four, your free health insurance is about $4,000 a month. And it's going to give you free medical, free dental, free vision. As an employer, it's going to take over your workman's comp. It's also going to cover long-term care insurance. And when you start getting into that, you start to realize that it sounds great, but most families can't afford $4,000 a month to pay for this free benefit.
It
And
doesn't sound so free if you're
it
telling me
doesn't.
it's $4,000 a month.
it's going to be about $4,000 a month, everybody that pays into taxes. They want to have, California's talked about, and this is what we talk a lot about in California, within Sacramento, about how they want to make sure everybody who takes a step into California has free health insurance. And I go, it's a nice concept, but how many people are going to come over the border because they have a major medical condition that they can't get covered in their state or in their country?
Right.
I mean, how far is Canada from here? It's not that far. So watch what you ask for. And I understand, I think everybody agrees, we want everybody to have health insurance. I'll be the first person to say it. But we got to be able to pay for it. I've always liked the concept of we all have Social Security.
Right.
Why can't we have a base plan that covers the basic things, which we actually have now? Anybody who walks into a hospital, they cannot be refused. So we have some basic coverage. You can do things such as CVS's minute clinics. You can walk in, it's right next, you go right to the pharmacy, you look to the right, and there's an 8x10 office room, a nurse is in there, and for UTI, sinus infection, stuff like that, you can be in and out 30 minutes, maybe it costs you $60, and you've already got your prescription ordered and you're out the door.
Well, and sometimes you can't really wait to get into the doctor. You need to go
Right.
get some acute help right
Exactly.
away. So I'm going to ask you this one
Okay.
question because we're kind of getting close to running out of time.
Okay.
But what would you say is your call to action when it comes to health care, it comes to Medicare, and all this time period that we're in right now
Okay.
that's so critical for people to get the education and knowledge
Right.
that they need?
The biggest one are reach out to a health insurance agent. Agents are the answers. We, in California, we get paid, we're like the doctors in the hospitals, we get paid by the insurance companies.
Okay.
We don't really care which company you go with. But work with somebody, we're gonna sit down with you, and we're gonna ask you questions. What are your prescriptions? Who's your doctor, your hospital? And we're gonna find a plan that fits your particular needs. Because if you get 10 people in this room, all 10 are gonna have a different want, a different need.
Sure.
Based on your age and your health issues. So work with an agent, let them help you find the best plan for you. They're going to be there all year for you. I get a lot of calls during the year, even after open enrollment. So February, March, June, August, I get calls, I have this problem, I got this bill, I don't think I owe this money, can you help me with this? And we'll work with the insurance company and you to figure out why you owe this money. Is it really true, or is it just that maybe you forgot to give them your health insurance ID card, which happens a lot, or there was a miscommunication because maybe it wasn't an in-network hospital or doctor when we thought it was and you were told it was. So we're behind the scenes helping them every day. That's why I have a staff, and most health insurance agents do, because we have clients calling us every day to help them with their needs. So the best thing is reach out to a health insurance agent, let them help you. If you're not sure, make sure they belong to either the California Association of Health Underwriters, our local chapter is San Diego, and also the national, because these people are dealing with this all year long. And that's really what you want, someone who's doing this on a full-time basis versus somebody who just does it on the side with some other stuff that they do.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for
My
being here
pleasure.
today. Thank you for giving this education and knowledge. You know, ultimately, there's a professional for everything, and we want to make sure that you have the right professional that can represent you amongst so many different companies. And I'm sure you have questions and you want to know some answers about your personal situation. If you do have those questions, you know, reach out for a complimentary consultation, 619-640-2622. And if you have some questions for Craig, because he's a true professional in this world of health insurance and also the different pieces that make so much of the confusion about Medicare and things of this nature, he makes it so simple. We would love to be able to field your questions through questions with an S at ElisabethWithAnS.Dawson.com. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. Stay tuned, and we hope you have some questions that we can bring onto the show here eventually. And if you actually want to be on the show one day in the future and you're professional here in San Diego County, we'd love to have you here at 619-640-2622. Thank you so much. Welcome back. I'm Elisabeth Dawson, and this is our show, Ways to Love Your Money. Wanted to say thank you for staying tuned and listen in. We want to have a couple calls to action today because this is what it's all about. You're welcome to listen, but if you don't take action to basically make changes in your life or find out the information that you don't know, you need to find out. So, you know, what keeps you awake at night? Nothing should keep you awake at night. Maybe your puppy like I have at home, but that should be the only thing that's keeping you awake. We should not have money concerns that are keeping us awake at night. And if they are, you need to have a call to action to do something about it. You know, what is really on your mind? You know, if any of the pieces that you heard today really strike a chord with you, you know, do you have enough income that's guaranteed for the rest of your life? Or are you one of those statistics that basically could have a 65% chance of failure of running out of your money if you're taking out too much from your retirement distributions? Those are questions, those are concerns, those are things that you should have a call to action to make a major change in your life and to find out what you're really looking for. Longevity is definitely on your side, but at the same time, your money has to work that much harder to make sure that that money doesn't run out before you run out of time. You never want to be a burden on family. You want to basically take those responsibilities on your own. I really want to encourage you, because if you haven't gotten a copy of our book, Wealth by Design, it is available through our website, Dawson.com, and it'll link you right away to Amazon so you can get one copy or as many copies as you want. We would love for you to tell all your friends. So your major call to action today would be to take action. Don't just listen. Take action, start to implement a future for yourself that you know that you could feel confident on and really have guarantees in life. You know, it's really, really rare that you can actually get a guarantee in life, but we can actually help you plan for the guarantees that you deserve to have. And, you know, we don't want to run out of money. So how do we basically put that kind of a wrapper on something when we get to our retirement years? Again, also healthcare open enrollment time. This is the time to look at what you have. Your employer's probably asking you to do this as well, so it's not just for those of you that are individuals, but if you're a business owner, you're an individual that is not provided health insurance, or you are at that age of retirement of 65, and you're looking at retirement and you're looking at your Medicare options. How do you answer all those questions? You've got to do your best to get the best education information in front of you. We obviously had some professionals on today that could help you answer some of those questions. So send your questions to me, questions with an S, at Dawson.com, and call in for your complimentary consultation to discuss these pieces at 619-640-2622. Thank you so much, and we can't wait for you to listen to our next episodes.